Hey friends, I'm Heidi with Heavenly Minded Home, and I am enjoying a day of rest here today after a busy yesterday and trying to get feeling better after being sick. So I figured I would sit down, have a cup of hot tea with you all, and share the top 5 things I'm implementing in my life to help cultivate just a lovely life. That's the goal around here. That's what we're trying to get to. And these 5 things are definitely helping. So if you want to grab a cup of tea, maybe some coffee, come sit down with me. Let's chat. Friends, and welcome back to Heavenly Minded Home. Now, you guys know I love sharing about being a homemaker and homeschool, home discipleship, right? Just having this space of refuge for our families that nourishes and grows us. And lately, we've had just all kinds of chaos going on, from health issues for my husband, cancer scares, surgery, being ridiculously sick, and now trying to get our lives back together. And yesterday we tackled getting a little bit done and having some appointments to go to, and that has drained us. So we are exhausted. We have slept nearly all day. It's a little bit cooler here in North Carolina, and kind of just a cozier day. So it's like, you know what? We're gonna sit down with a cup of tea. I've got my favorite rooibos tea here, and we're just gonna chit chat and hang out a little bit. So I figured today is just the perfect time to sit down and kind of just relaxing, share with you guys the top 5 things that I've been implementing and want to be implementing to help us in cultivating this ideal of a lovely life. And there's so much I want to talk about with you guys when it comes to this. I know I keep saying that, but I'm just trying to listen to my body and respect it when I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so much that needs to be done in my life in so many levels. And I'm just not there yet. So I'm trying to get feeling better, but I'm not there yet. So I have lots of things that need my attention. And right now, sitting down with a cup of tea and chatting is a little bit more my speed. So that's what we're going to do. And let's get into number 1. Number 1 would be, of course, to slow down. Easier said than done. I understand. I'm preaching to the choir here because this is something I tell myself all the time, and it's so hard. I think especially being in ministry full time. For a long time we were small business owners, and it was like, we can't slow down, because if we slow down, right, like it's always feast or famine, and we can't lose out, and we're building debt or whatever. And then we kind of came out of that and really took on slower living. And I feel like we do embody this so often in our lives, but then being in ministry now full time, it's not like the money aspect of it, because we don't make any money, but it's the there's so much to do. There's so many ways to serve. There's so much good, right? That is just, it's wonderful. And getting to serve and getting to see things and do things, and we just see there's such a need. So it's always like, okay, curriculum, co-op, daily videos, podcasts, right? All all the different things. And then you balance that with your own ways to serve in your family, right? Discipling our children, homeschool, our church, Bible study, all these different things. And then it's like, before you know it, it's that snowball, right? That just grows and grows and grows. And trying to constantly find that balance, which we had been talking about, of just how to balance all of that, right? And so I think in cultivating a truly lovely life, which we'll talk more about of what I mean by lovely life and all of that. But I think in cultivating that, you first have to slow down. You have to slow down because, stop and smell the roses, right? How do you enjoy the loveliness, enjoy the elegance and beauty and treasure and blessing all around you if you never slow down enough to notice it, let alone soak it all in? And so in cultivating a lovely life, I think we have to start being mindful and looking at our days and going, okay, how can I slow this down? For us, it was being hit with surgery, recovery, and an entire household full of sickness and lingering exhaustion, right? So it was like a forced, like screeching halt, brake slammed, like, oh, okay, we're stopped now. And, like I've said, I could be frustrated over the fact that that's all happened, or I can say, all right, God needed us here. He needed to bring us to a screeching halt. And even though I'm behind on everything and it's all a mess and blah, 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 whatever, like this is where we need to be right now. And I trust the Lord's timing and his hand in all of it. And if I'm going to cultivate this lovely, beautiful, life, first I have to slow down, because you can't stop and smell the roses. If you're going so fast, you zoom right by them and you miss them altogether. So tip number 1 to cultivate a lovely life, you've got to slow down, self included in all of this. Tip number 2 in these steps to help us in cultivating a lovely life would definitely be to properly place our priorities. Okay, hear me out. We all have priorities. We all have, things that have to be taken care of, things that have to be done, things that, whatever. We all have them. But if we don't take the time and attention to really look at what we have on our plates each day, each week, each month, each year, in whatever season of life we're in, and go, should these priorities be here? Like, should I be prioritizing my time on this? Is this the best use of my time, my resources, and what the Lord has given me? And then you look at these priorities and you go, okay, what is my order? I mean, take a notebook. I do this often, where I write them down and I go, what are the things that I feel like I should be putting time and effort and focus and attention and care into, right? From, my walk with the Lord, my marriage, my parenting, my relationship with each individual child, our homeschool, our home discipleship. And then I go, home cleaning, home tidying, home cooking, home, all the homey stuff. And then I go, okay, now the outer stuff, right? Ministry, church, friendships, family, all the things outside, and really look at them and go, where am I at, right? Are these things properly lined up, or am I out of whack? Like, am I really not feeling well because I'm not taking care of my body and I'm not doing the things that I should, right? Does that need to bump up in the priority list? Am I not going to God's word every day? Am I not studying? Am I not, you kind of walk through these different things. Where's my relationship with my husband? Is that the number one human relationship I'm pouring into? Or am I pouring into other human relationships a little bit more? Even including the kids, right? Like, where are we at in all of this? Am I wasting a lot of time watching TV, sitting on my phone, scrolling aimlessly, or maybe even just, doing good things, but too much time is going to that in other things in the home and in my walk with the Lord and in my marriage and parenting, like they're lacking. This is a constant thing. You don't just do this once and then you're done. We constantly do this throughout life, but properly placing our priorities is so huge, regardless of what type of life you want to live, but especially if you're trying to cultivate a just lovely life. You've got to pause and go, okay, where are my priorities at? I've been doing that a lot, where it's like, man, just running a couple errands and like doing a couple things. Like today we are wiped out. I mean, I didn't wake up until 10 o'clock today, you guys. And I'm usually like, I like being up, not ridiculously early, but I like getting up and getting going. I mean, 10 o'clock, we've been on the couch nearly all day. I am ready for a nap. Like, I just cannot do it. And, being able to say, hey, like, clearly this is what my body needs. If I am this tired, and after doing one day of literally stopping a couple places, and then clearly I need this. I need to prioritize this time of just rest and recuperation and all of that. Like, it's clearly needed. And so that's definitely tip number 2, is we've got to sit down, we've got to look at what we have going on, and what we should be prioritizing, and then properly place these priorities, and then adhere to it, obviously. But I mean, I honestly will write mine out, because I'm like, okay, where should I be, right? I'm going to write these out so I can really look at it, pray over it, discuss it with my husband, discuss it as a family, and then we can do what we need to start getting these things in the order they should be in. And the Lord blesses that every time, and you start seeing it all come together, and you're like, so glad I did that. So that's tip number 2. Now, tip number 3 is a fun one, and don't overlook this. There is something about enjoying elegance in life, and I'm not an elegant person. Elegance doesn't just have to do with how much money you have. There's so much that we have lost with a ridiculously casual society, that any semblance of formal living is like no longer around anymore. I mean, people go to the store in their pajamas like it's normal nowadays. Maybe you do that, but it's like, why are we those people that do that? Like, no, pajamas or whatever, that's not what matters. That's not what we're talking about right now. I'll focus. We've gotten so casual that any little bit of something elegant or beautiful is really gone in so many ways. And I think that is a sad thing as a culture that we've lost. And I think whenever you think of those like romanticized images of just beautiful living or something, right, there's this spark of elegance and class that exists there, and we're missing that so much. And it's not about being in love with this world. It's not about stuff and status. I mean, maybe for some people it is, but that's not the heart of what I'm talking about here. And this is where, in cultivating a lovely life, my tip number 3 would be to pull out the fine china, okay? It doesn't have to just be china, although picking up some fancy glasses from a thrift store for, pennies is a great way to do this, and we'll talk more about that in the future. Pull out the fine china. Pull out the nice things. Most of us have little things, be it maybe a nice set of sheets, maybe it is some pretty china, maybe it is an outfit that you love but you never wear, maybe it's a piece of jewelry, maybe it's a candle, right? It doesn't have to be expensive, it doesn't have to be anything. It's just those simple little things that make the setting beautiful. I wear my diamond earrings that my husband bought me every day, because it's not even that they cost a ton, but it was, he saved up and he bought me, like he wanted to buy me real diamond earrings. They're tiny, they're nothing crazy, but it was a special thing that, like, ever since we started dating as teenagers, like, he wanted to buy me real diamond earrings. I wear them every day because they're treasured. I always wear my wedding ring every day. I will sometimes pull out, a really lovely necklace. Most of them are ones that have been handed down to me from somebody special, and they're a treasure. Having dainty dishes, pulling out, these little things that normally would stay put up for a special occasion, pull them out. Use them, right? Let them come into your daily life if you want to cultivate this just lovely, beautiful life to live each day. And that's the point. And that's why I say it's not about how expensive something is or how much money you have or trying to flaunt it or anything like that. It's the heart of the matter in enjoying the little gifts and treasures of this life. There's nothing wrong with that. And wanting to go to the thrift store and collect, you know, some pretty cups or a nice platter dish or some candles or, you know, maybe some lacy curtains or something like that. Like, it doesn't have to cost much. It doesn't have to be, you know, plated gold. It doesn't have to be any of that, but pulling out these little lovely touches, the fine china, you know, pulling that out, because every day that God's given us is a special occasion. Like, I'm alive today. It is God's will that I'm living, that my husband, my children, right? I don't have to wait for, you know, the power, you know, the world to decide that today's a special occasion to pull out, you know, something nice. I can say, Lord, you gave me today, and I want to worship you and rejoice in you in this and live today to its fullest, because I don't know if I get tomorrow. I don't know what tomorrow brings. I mean, I don't know any of that. And so today I'm going to enjoy it. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be lovely, and I'm going to celebrate it, right? That's what I mean by pull out the fine china, right? Put the satin pillowcase on your pillow, you know, pull out the candles and set the table, you know, do all of that. There's nothing wrong with enjoying, you know, those little treasures throughout our days. And so that's what I mean there with tip number 3, pull out the fine china. It's amazing how cold my tea gets because it's cloudy and chillier today. All right, tip number 4. This is something that when we sit down and talk more about this, when I'm feeling a little bit better, we'll get into the details of it. But I was a wedding coordinator, event florist, you know, all of that stuff by trade. That is what I did. And it was my job to create beautiful events, beautiful weddings. That was my job, and to take all of the little details and bring them all together. We worked at amazing resorts and venues, from the Florida Keys, Charlotte, the Biltmore Estate in Asheville, you know, all of these just beautiful, beautiful places. And I loved that part of just the details, right? The little things that you put in that just make, you know, hundreds of guests would walk in and go, wow, right? Like that was that fun part of it, that almost like fairy tale element of like, ta-da, look how gorgeous this is. Okay. So tip 4 here would be to put effort into the details. Now hear me out. I'm not saying that you need to create this, like, you know, amazing show-stopping thing every time you turn around. And let's just be honest, if that's the level we all think we need to be held to, it's going to be a very stressful existence, and that is not lovely. What I mean by that is there are simple things that require just little bits of effort that I feel like we often overlook because it's just not worth it, right? Like, I got to cook for my kids every day, multiple times per day, you know, school, all of the stuff. Like, am I really going to take the time to put everything in beautiful serveware? Am I really going to take the time to set the table and lay out a tablecloth and, you know, put flowers on the table and light some candles and set, you know, the fancy china and, you know, put out drink glasses and, you know, fabric napkins and all? Like, am I really going to do that when my kids want chicken nuggets and mac and cheese, right? Like, am I really going to go through all that effort? And I think if we're trying to cultivate a more lovely life, we should say yes. Now, maybe that doesn't happen every single day. Maybe we start with like once a week having fancy dinner or something. But when we start taking a little bit of time and putting a little bit of effort into the details of our days, that makes a difference. Now, I know for me, I got really annoyed by the fact that I used to not get dressed and ready first thing in the morning. And then my day would just happen and I'd be going, and the next thing I knew, it's like 3:00 in the afternoon. I'm still in my pajamas and I'm like, oh my gosh. And I really got convicted that I wasn't giving my husband the best of me. Like, we work together all the time, so I'm busy doing it, but I'm like, this is what I look like all day. And not that he ever said a word, but it was like, man, that kind of stinks, right? Like, I want to see my husband getting up and getting dressed and looking nice and not just, you know, slumming around all day, but yet here I am always looking like a hot mess. And so, I really felt convicted over that. And I was like, okay, I'm going to get up and get dressed and ready in the morning. It takes me like 10 minutes max, brush my teeth, everything from the morning when I wake up, put on a little bit of makeup and some sort of something. And not only did I feel better about what I was presenting to my husband, but I felt better. I wasn't as stressed. If something came up and I needed to run out or somebody showed up or whatever, it wasn't that big of a deal because like I'm already up and ready to go, right? I'm not in my pajamas at 2:00 in the afternoon, still trying to like keep it all together. Like putting that little bit of effort into the details of getting dressed and ready, it really was a big benefit to me. And then I think of different ways for our family that setting the table, taking, even if it's chicken nuggets and mac and cheese, or whatever, and putting it into a dish, right? Serving out their plates, lighting a candle, putting on, one of my hymns of the homemaker and having some soft music playing in the background. Like these little details really create the ambiance of our home. And even if my family doesn't notice every single detail every single time, like they notice and they feel it. And it doesn't take, again, it doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be over the top. Like it doesn't have to be all those things, but putting a little bit of effort into the details is worth it. And it builds that feeling of just being together is special, is lovely, is wonderful. Like even my husband, if I pull out nice glassware and stuff versus just like, here's a pizza on a paper plate, I pull out a nice plate, I pull out glassware, I, light a candle, play some music, like all of a sudden we're having this like lovely family dining experience. I notice that everybody kind of lingers around the table a little longer. They're kind of chit-chatting, enjoying, we kind of start building this because I took a little tiny bit of effort, put that into the details and created a space that was lovely, which in turn kind of soaks into everyone that's here with me. And that feeling of loveliness doesn't stay superficial and outward, it becomes an inward feeling as well. And all of this leads me to the fifth and final tip here for cultivating a lovely life, and that is truly to romanticize it all, okay? Life is as beautiful as you choose to see it as. Now, maybe you are the ultimate pessimist, right? Like glass is always half empty. Grass is always greener on the other side, right? Like it's always, my husband always says, expect the worst. How does he say it? Expect the worst, be surprised when it's better. I don't know. He says something like that. And I go, okay, but then how much of your time are you walking around expecting something to be so bad and it isn't? Like I would much rather go into everything expecting it all to be just fine. And then I get surprised every once in a while when it doesn't go quite as well, but I'm like, whatever, right? Like romanticize your life. From the time you wake up in the morning until the time you go to bed at the end of the day, like see everything as rose-colored, right? Like see everything as beautiful, see everything as an opportunity. That Anne of Green Gables idea, right? Where can you find the beauty in every moment? Where can you go into even difficult situations? I mean, I've got a million difficult situations on my lap. I can sit here and be weighed down by them and frustrated and cranky and stressed and overwhelmed, or I can choose to say, I know my house is a wreck because I've been sick for like a month now. I'm gonna come sit outside with a nice cup of tea, some plants. Don't look at the patches of dirt in the grass, but like I can sit out here, I can look at the trees, I can soak it in and not worry about it. Because my day is going to be as lovely as I choose to see it. So when I romanticize my day, it's not that I don't understand what reality is and I don't understand different things, but it's choosing to see the good, choosing to see the blessings and the beauty and the opportunity the Lord has placed all around all of us each and every day. And so if we're going to be cultivating a lovely life, we need to start romanticizing it, okay? And it's so much of it is that mental thing. And when we're used to running down the highway of negativity, our brain is really quick to go, highway of negativity, off we go, right? It's like the interstate. It's so much easier to just hop on the interstate and just plow down that. And then all you get is negativity, 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 stress, overwhelm, discontent, right? All of that. But sometimes you have to pause and you have to say, I'm going to take the off ramp and find the little beautiful highways that, you know, back roads that kind of weave around. You know, we live here near the Blue Ridge Parkway, and sometimes you got to get off the interstate. You got to go up and drive the scenic routes, pull over at the overlooks and look at the mountains and, you know, take all of that in. And the more that you kind of take yourself and head off to those beautiful back roads, the more you start to go, wow, yeah, like I try to take lots of back roads because they're beautiful and I love driving them, especially different times a year. I'm like, forget it, I'm not even driving over there, I'm driving over here because I want to see the mountains and the trees and drive along the river and, you know, all those different things. So when we start to train our brains to go, highway of negativity, no thanks, I'm gonna go over here, take the scenic route and enjoy it. I'm still going from point A to point B. I'm still taking care of the things that need to be taken care of, but I can either be over there doing what I've done and just flowing down the path of stress and overwhelm and negativity, or I can detour off, take the scenic route, and truly see the lovely view of it, right? I can soak in that part that's just wonderful and beautiful and patient and loving. And I just think scripturally, you know, we see that like God has a beautiful life for us. And that's not in the way of prosperity gospel that you're going to, you know, get rich and just imagine it and you can bring it into fruition. Like, that's not what I mean. I mean that regardless of how much money you have or don't have, what type of home you have or don't have, whatever situation you have or don't have, the Lord's given you today, and that's a blessing and that's a gift, and we can soak that all in. We can truly praise Him through that and see it through this like romantic rose-colored goggles lens of like, look how beautiful it is. How beautiful it is to have a tea party or sit outside and have a picnic or eat our dinner, you know, with candlelight or go for a walk or, you know, whatever the situation might be. And so if you want to start cultivating a lovelier life, highly recommend you start romanticizing everything, absolutely everything from morning until night. So those right there would be my top 5 tips for cultivating a lovely life. Finding the beauty, finding the blessing, the elegance, just all of that you can really just slow down, soak in, and focus your hearts on as we go through this life, dealing with whatever it is life throws at us, but in a very lovely way. So I'm super excited to talk more about this and share more about kind of some of the practicality and the changes and challenges that we're making within our family, and praying that it can be a blessing for you and yours as we all seek to truly find contentment and praise the Lord in all that He has given us in whatever our circumstances of the season might actually be. So I think a little someone needs my attention. I'm going to go hang out with her. If you guys want to watch a little more, you can check this out right up here. Be sure to subscribe and tap the little bell notifications before you head out, because every single day we've got an additional video coming out. I will see you all, Lord willing, right here tomorrow. Bye, friends.
Bye, friends.